Today we have a very special guest joining us, Jack Lundin. Jack was recently involved in the successful execution of Lundin Gold's Fruta del Norte gold mine in southern Ecuador, where he served as the project superintendent, gaining experience in mine project development. He brings with him a recognized legacy and years of natural resource technical and economic expertise. Following many summers in the field, holding international prospecting and field technician roles with the Lundin Group, Jack also has experience working as an analyst in the commercial department for Lundin Norway, a subsidiary of Lundin Petroleum. In addition to serving as president, CEO, and director of Bluestone Resources, Jack also sits on the board of directors of Lundin Mining, Lundin Foundation, and the University of Arizona's Lowell Institute for Mineral Resources. He's also an advisor to Jose Maria Resources. Thanks again for joining us on The Rocks. Let's dive in. All right. Well, Jack, thank you so much for coming on The Rocks. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good, Emily. Thanks a lot. How are you?
I'm good. Better now that I'm about to have a cocktail. So what are you drinking today?
Right now, I'm drinking a Zacapa 23-year-old Guatemalan rum on the rocks, of course.
Yeah.
Usually I do it neat, but got to follow suit on this podcast.
That's right. You got to stay on brand. I mean, it's a Guatemalan rum. I don't think I've had rum from Guatemala before.
Yeah, neither had I until I came down here to Guatemala, and I wasn't really much of a rum drinker before, but this Zacapa rum, everybody was telling me to try it, and honestly, I prefer rum now over whiskey, and it's
what?
Believe it or not, I mean it's a specific type. I mean I don't drink rum from other places, but this Guatemalan Zacapa rum is. I'll bring you a bottle next time I see you, maybe in Colorado next month.
Yeah, at Beaver Creek. That'd be awesome. I look forward to trying that. Anything that convert people away from whiskey, I've got to give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the same way, but to be honest, it's good. So happy.
Very cool. Well, I will say I love rum finished whiskeys or bourbons. Some of my favorites are like finished in a rum barrel or have a rum finish. So I can probably be persuaded. I'm drinking. It's a Knob Creek single barrel that a good friend of mine gave me that I'm drinking this one today. I actually opened it right before this call because he's in the Army and he's been spending a lot of time in Central and South America, not Guatemala yet, but maybe. So I thought that was my tie-in. And I'm not usually a Knob Creek drinker, but this one is really good. So I'm excited to try it. Nice small batch.
Well, I'll drink to that. Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. You know, one of the unique things I think that you and I have in common in different ways, but we both work in mining, but in the context of a family business. My husband and I have started companies together, and you've worked in the family business with Lundin in a bunch of different roles. But I just think that that's a little unique these days in the mining industry.
Yeah, I think it is for sure. I'm definitely in a unique situation here, working as the third generation for a group of companies that we've called the Lundin Group. And the Lundin Group is essentially just a name. That it's not an actual entity. It's the companies that we consider to be Lundin Group companies. And usually what it means is we are a majority shareholder in the company, or we have a management team or a board of directors that have worked with us over the years on various projects or within various companies. You know, we have a strategic alignment on what it takes and what we want to see out of these projects as we bring them from one phase to the next. So I was kind of born into the business. I mean, I had some summer jobs that were outside of unrelated to mining, but I was always kind of drawn back to this industry because it's so unique. It's such an adventure, and there's so many positive impacts you can make when you do it the right way. So I'm happy to continue growing the legacy.
It probably puts a greater emphasis on certain values that the Lundin Group companies hold because of that legacy and that history.
I think so. I mean, you know, we do try and keep it really family oriented. Of course, CEO of Bluestone Resources and my brothers are running other companies in the group, and my dad and my uncle are sitting on, you know, as chairman of the board of various companies. And then we have some advisors and people that I've worked with in the past on different boards. So we really want to maintain that close community-like feeling because it transcends down to the lowest level worker, and it also transcends into the communities where we operate. And I think that that goes a long way, especially where the industry is heading today and kind of the climate of the world and how things are changing so fast. The social aspect of the business is more and more important today than ever, but we've always kind of had that approach. So we're kind of ahead of the game, I'd say, because of that family business mentality.
Yeah, I know for me, especially working in frontier and emerging markets, there's an advantage to being a family business in a lot of those countries, right? There's a different level of trust, perhaps. And culturally, it makes sense. I know here in the US, people are always like shocked that I work with my husband, right? It's not the norm to work with your family in the United States, whereas in a lot of other parts of the world, it is. And it makes a lot of sense. It just has a different feel to it, I think, when you enter some countries as a family as well as a business.
That's right. But I think even today, especially today, it's getting more and more challenging to define what normal is. And each company, each business, whatever industry, it's hard to find common trends. I think things are changing so much. And for me, it's normal to be in a family business because that's what I know. And for you to be working with your husband, I think it is awesome because you guys can complement each other and you both have different backgrounds, but you complement each other in a way that you can create a successful business. And that makes an impact, not just for yourself and your family, but for others in which other stakeholders in your business. So I think that that's one way to stay passionate and really focused on driving your goal forward and making that a reality.
Yeah, and I think also the idea of being invested for the long term, which I know is something that you've spoken about before. I think when you go in with that approach, I mean, I've brought our daughter Madeline has been to drilling campaigns and things, and there's just a different perspective. I think when you see generations involved in projects, it's, you really look at the long-term impacts of what you're doing, maybe from a different perspective. And you send a message to people that you're invested for the long term because their kids, their families are there in that community as well.
Of course. I mean, the long-term approach is there when you're in a family-run business. And another element that makes it so important in that you have such a focus and that you've got the right intentions is the fact that your name is behind it, right? So maybe your name is not on the name of the company, but people know what the management team or what the ownership team is behind it. And if you have any kind of ambition or pride inside of you, you're going to do everything you can to make sure that you're keeping and upholding the values and the brand and improving that, continuously looking to improve it. So
that's really important because I know when I talk to people who are new to investing in mining or looking at the industry, understanding who's behind a project is so important. Or it's really important to know the history of the people involved in a project and what their reputation is and their performance on other types of projects and what that means. I wonder, do you have any advice for investors who are new to the industry in looking at that and how to evaluate maybe a strong team and what that means?
of course, and I think you laid it up right there. It comes down to, especially when you're not an expert in the industry that you're going to be investing in, and that's totally okay. I mean, there's a lot of generalist investors that make a lot of money in different industries, and it's about doing the right homework. And I think it does start with investing in not just the company, but the people behind that. And for friends of mine that aren't not in the industry or acquaintances of mine that are seeing kind of the super cycle that this industry is going in with base metals and precious metals and energy commodities are very high and very strong, and I believe they'll be strong for a long time. It is drawing in more of that generalist investor. So look at who you're investing in would be my advice. And then, of course, you got to start looking at where the investments are being made and what has been going on in the region to make you have comfort that you're going to be making an investment that's, again, I only advise longer term, medium term to long term investments. Quick money is I don't think that this is the right space to get into unless you're comfortable with going into kind of a more of a promo business that doesn't have much substance behind it. And you can find those. I mean, you can make a quick buck in this industry by supporting companies that are really just trying to promote something that may or may not be in existence. But know the brand and then start to look at where that project is located.
And on that, you are you're leading a team in Guatemala, which I think is probably not a country that's on most folks' radar when it comes to mining. It certainly wasn't really on mine until you and I were talking, and I'd be interested to hear a little bit more about what it's been like running a project in Guatemala.
Certainly. I am here right in Guatemala City, and I became CEO of Bluestone Resources in January last year. And we are a single asset company with a high grade gold silver project located in the southern part of Guatemala. And so my job is to build a team and build this project. We're right now in the study phase, and next year we hope to get into construction. And then 2-3 years from now, we hope to be in the production. So a lot of things happening. The company has a very strong growth profile. We've got about 115 employees, and we'll be getting up to 1,500 direct employees during the construction phase. And as I mentioned, 18 months from now, we'll be reaching those numbers, provided everything goes to plan. It's extremely exciting. And Guatemala is a beautiful country, and there's a lot of opportunity here. And that's why I'm spending all my time here, to really understand the lay of the land and how we can create value for everybody involved.
That's amazing. And they have great rum, apparently. So that's an added bonus.
It was a hidden bonus that I did not expect. And so definitely happy about that one.
And I think something you and I share in common is I get excited about projects that people actually want to build. Like not just kind of adding value by adding ounces, but projects that are getting ready, going through the process you just talked about, getting ready to do construction and begin production. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on why this project, like why is this one that you guys are going to really bring into reality?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I mean, our approach when we pick up projects that are in the late stage exploration or study phase, we look at that with the lens of building, right? We're a building group, and we focus on bringing the project or the deposit from one phase to the next, because that's how you really create value, and that's where you deliver on what the world needs, which is materials to move society forward. With Cerro Blanco specifically, it's a very interesting project. It's a great deposit. It's a near surface deposit. So we've got very good, attractive geological characteristics, which means economically it's a very robust mine. So economically, technically, everything checks out with this project. It's also a project that's been in existence for many years. It was discovered back in 1998, and since then it's been handed through or passed through the many hands of different owners, and for many different reasons, previous companies were, they would advance the project and then they would pause and went on care and maintenance, and then they would sell it because they couldn't advance the project for whatever reason. Most recently, before Bluestone acquired the Cerro Blanco, Goldcorp was holding this asset, and Goldcorp has success, or they had success. They've since been bought out by Newmont, but they had a lot of success in Guatemala. They developed and operated a mine in the western part of the country called Marlin, and that project was nearing the end of its mine life. So they were looking at going into the decommissioning phase, and they were looking at Cerro Blanco as its next project to kind of maintain status here in Guatemala. However, they made a corporate decision that this was no longer going to be a region or a core business for them down in Guatemala. So we were able to acquire Cerro Blanco for a steep discount because they had almost written it off. But we, with our team, saw the geological potential, saw the significance of this deposit, and the fact that it was so well defined, but it had not yet been brought forward to operations. Most projects that are near surface and have these characteristics have since been mined out many, many years ago. We took it, put our approach, brought our team in, took a fresh perspective on how we believe to advance this project. And, one big thing we did is it was previously looked at as an underground development and operating scenario, but because it's near surface deposit, it's much easier from a technical standpoint and an economic standpoint to bring it forward as an open pit. We changed the strategy, and we're now advancing with a totally different model that had been in place for many years before us.
Well, I think that's really cool because I know sometimes people think, oh, if so-and-so couldn't make it work, then there must be a problem with it, right? But much like other industries, you can take the same asset and come at it with a different approach, a different team, and have completely different results or a different plan that works really well.
Yeah, you have to do your homework and understand why was the previous owner unable to advance. There's usually a reason, and it takes two to tango. So it could be, the company's fault or the host country's fault or the combination. But we don't get deterred from, in the Lundin Group, we've made our success by going where others won't. We know when we talk about the family business and the long-term approach, like we're here to not just come in quickly, make some money, and then get out. We're here to set up a foundation to grow a sustainable business that will last for many years. And from there, you open up new opportunities. As I mentioned, there's a lot of opportunities in Guatemala. They have a pro-business government in place at the moment, and they do want foreign investment. And this is one of the biggest foreign investment projects that the country will have. And we've got a good relationship now with the ministers and the president that we believe we get this done in the right way, and we can change the perception of mining in Guatemala and open up more opportunities for us, because there's not many regions in the world that have the prospectivity that Guatemala has.
No, I think that's so spot on. And I know from the projects I've led in places like Afghanistan, there are few industries that can have the amount of impact on a country's economy, job creation, infrastructure outside of mining. I mean, there really are very few that can cause such a positive transformation in a country. But it takes a company that's really dedicated to doing it the right way to make sure it is that positive impact, right? I mean, it can certainly go the other way and has in other markets, but I think that's why it's so exciting what you all are doing down there, because it also sets the tone for other companies coming into the market, right? The first or the biggest company to make that kind of investment sets the mark, right? Everyone else has to meet or exceed that. Exactly. Sets the bar. So kudos to you guys for taking that on.
It does take a lot of work, and there's a lot of hardships involved. But if you have a right team in place and the commitment from our investors and the focus that we have, then no doubt we can make it happen. And it's interesting because you have experience working in, let's call it, volatile regions, or regions where others will not go unless there's a significant reason for them to. But you can see the impact that can be made, and it starts with a big project, and a lot of the time it is a resource that will be able to kickstart much more than just a mining region. I mean, it can become an area where, if you put a big focus on economic diversification, there's a lot of other industries that can coexist next to resource projects. And I don't think people fully understand that. If you do your homework and develop deposits and projects the right way, it doesn't just mean it's a mining region. This can be a region where there's agriculture, farming, other things. We can build facilities and have schools, and there can be easy access to medical supplies or medical attention. And it becomes much more than just a resource project. It becomes a strategic area where other industries can flourish as well.
Especially these days, it's like the amount of technology that's used in mining, right? It's also just not super labor intensive jobs that are created, but you have a lot of technology jobs that are created. Like you said, all the support industries that go around it. There's a great study that the World Bank did years ago that said for every one job created at a mine, 7 satellite industry jobs are created, right? I mean, it's a huge multiplier. I mean, it has a huge impact that can be felt not just at that location, but throughout that region. So I think it's so important that people understand that. It's not just the jobs at the mine, but everything that goes into supporting exploration, construction, engineering, and mine development even before the operations that are really important, and a lot of funding, for example, that goes into universities and educational programs in addition to kind of clinics and stuff like that. So it has a huge impact. And there are a lot of countries in the world that really, really want that investment and have to compete for it, right? So kudos also to Guatemala for obviously making a value proposition that makes sense for mining companies to come in there.
Yeah, and I think the industry also does need to do a better job on creating that awareness. One, just educating the general population on what mining is and why it's necessary for our everyday lives, but also what it means and what's required, because it's not just someone with a shovel and a hard hat. It's so many more disciplines that go into building a project or operating a project or exploring for a deposit. You need many, many disciplines, both technical and non-technical. You need a lot of engagement, and you need a lot of support. For us, we also really put a strong focus on developing the capacity for the local workforce, right? For the candidates that could work at the mine or in these other industries, as we've been talking about. So a big focus to make what I believe a successful project is putting the roots in to make sure that you've got that education and training component really well established before even making the investment for the construction of the whatever project it is. We've kicked off an adult education program. It's a rapid high school advancement course, and we've got several of about 40 of our workforce currently enrolled, and I think another 140 in the surrounding local communities. And these candidates will then become eligible for our training for construction and training for operations programs that we're now refining and ready to put in place towards the end of this year or early part of next year. And those are things that people can see right off the bat, like, okay, maybe we don't see a construction project underway, but we do see that there's positive progress being made towards something that could be beneficial, right? And just getting to that point can be a challenge, right? Because people are skeptical. There's a lot of anti-mining sentiment around the world, because I think it's the industry's fault as well, not taking the time to spread the awareness and explain properly what it is we're doing, and why there will be a disturbance of a certain size at one point. But of course, we can reclaim a lot to make sure that it doesn't look as it does during that development phase or even during that operation phase. It's complex, and the best way is to try and simplify it as much as possible and be transparent.
Yeah, and I think education is so key to that in the local community that the mining company is working in, but also back in our own community. And I know that you all are passionate about that as well, with the work that you've done with the University of Arizona's Institute for Mineral Resources, right? I mean, you're very involved back in the US on supporting education here around mining and geology.
Yes, absolutely. And we're doing a lot of exciting work with the University of Arizona. And I'm very proud to be involved with the initiative that we have, which is creating a School of Mining and Mineral Resources, which basically means taking all of the mining related education programs in the University of Arizona and putting it under one umbrella, which becomes the School of Mining and Mineral Resources. And what that does is it really creates a hub for mineral resource education. But because the University of Arizona is so diverse and teaches so many different disciplines, it's also an opportunity to create awareness about what mining is. And so, the goal for that is to create the best mineral resource education program in the world. And we can do that by being in Tucson, surrounded by big mining companies, by big mining operations. Arizona, for me and my family, is very close to our heart, because my older brother Harry got his undergrad in mining engineering there. I did my master's of mining engineering there. My cousin Oscar is just about to start in a couple of weeks doing his undergrad in business there. Arizona is a great state. It's a beautiful place. And so we're happy to be involved with driving that initiative forward.
No, I think that's so unique, because there are other places in the world where they're shutting mining schools down. To have the vision as a university to see the potential for creating a new one shows how forward looking it is, right? I mean, the need for mining skills and backgrounds is not going to go away. If anything, it's going to explode. And we've got to get young people excited about what we do as an industry, right? Not just educated about it, but excited about it and want to go into it if we're going to be able to grow and scale at the rate that we need to.
Especially for this green revolution that we're currently living in. And the world is going to need many more minerals, precious base metal, rare earth metals, like it or not, petroleum, other, gas, petroleum products, in order to be able to make that transition. So over the next 5 to 10 years, the need for experienced or educated mining professionals is going to ramp up. And like you said, there's a lot of programs that are being shut down by mining related programs that are being shut down by universities. And I think there's kind of maybe two main reasons for that. One, mining is a commodity industry. It's a cyclical business. And we just came out of a very long period with depressed commodity prices. And so, kids that I was graduating with were finding it hard to find jobs in the mining industry. Why would you enter a mining related program if you don't know that you're going to have a secure job waiting for you when you get out of it? And then I think the other aspect is just that perception or lack of perception. One, I don't know what mining is, and what I do know about it, it sounds like a dirty business, and I don't want to be associated with that. So it's unfortunate that that's happening, but we understand why, and it's really great that the University of Arizona is putting their support behind this initiative, because it's absolutely needed, and we can change or modify and adapt the curriculum to the changing environment of the world that we're in today.
My youngest sister is like 9 years younger than I am. And so she was in college around the time that I was doing a lot of work in Afghanistan for the Pentagon, and had just finished doing some work on potential dry lake beds that we were looking at lithium. And she was sitting in like an environmental studies 101 class in college, and they put an article up about our work, right? And they're like, isn't this terrible? The United States Pentagon is going to Afghanistan to like steal lithium out of Afghanistan. And she was like, raised her hand. And she's like, first of all, my sister's over there working on that. And I don't think that's exactly what's going on, right? I mean, it's like basic education about how mining and exploration works that's really lacking. And even just getting kids exposed, or not kids, young adults exposed to that in some ways. So there's a general education level about what it means and how it's used that would really help a lot, I think. Just people understanding.
I completely understand, because I unfortunately kind of face those criticisms quite often, and you have that firsthand experience. Your poor sister sitting there, knowing that you're out in the field working very hard to make something happen in a region that people want no business with, right? And it's unfortunate that it's our own countries that are trying to, that are so misinformed, right? Like the professor, he probably had every right intention of trying to teach what's good in the world, but they're so misinformed from that level. How can we expect that the kids and the young adults that are going to be going into the workforce, if they're being kind of brainwashed that this industry is nothing but evil, then you're fighting an uphill battle than when you're trying to target adults, right? That's why you do have to focus on creating awareness in the younger ages, and also with the teachers and society, to make them understand, like, hey, we do a lot of good things. Of course, we're not perfect like any person or company, but there are a lot of good-willed companies in the mining and natural resource sector that do put a strong focus on the environment and the community, and we should be promoting these businesses and commending them for what they're doing. Another thing is, with the naysayers and the anti-industry folks, of course, if their initiative is to protect the environment, like, that's a good initiative, and we support that 100%. But at the same time, it's so easy to stand on the sideline and say, they're doing wrong. They're going to kill you. They're going to kill the environment. Don't let this happen. Just no. How about, if you really want to make a difference, come in, join the company, make sure that we're upholding the best standards. And that's the difference, because whether you like it or not, we need minerals to advance society. And so they're going to be developed somewhere. And so might as well focus on a group or a company that has the right intentions, because then they'll do it better than the next company.
No, that's why when I talk to friends or colleagues that are investors, right? And they're like, "Oh, I would never invest in the mining sector because of X, Y, and Z." And I'm like, "Well, I guess from a foreign policy perspective, I'm more pro engagement, right? As opposed to isolationist." And it's like, if you want to help change the industry, then invest in the industry, right? And then you're a shareholder, and then you have a say. And, why not, like you said, support the companies that are doing things the right way and help shift the industry towards your values. I think that's such a powerful position that people don't even think that they can take, is to invest in the companies that are doing things that align with your values, as opposed to just staying away completely because you think everybody is bad. And it's, inevitably the metals that we mine are going into the companies you're investing in anyway. I mean, I say it over and over again, but if you'll invest in Tesla, why won't you invest in the companies that are mining the metals and minerals that Tesla uses? Same with Apple or Samsung or any of the tech industries that people are super excited about, or renewable industries. If you like wind turbines, you like solar power, invest in the companies that are mining the stuff that it takes to build those things, right? And that's how you help those industries grow and be more affordable for everybody.
Yeah, a lot of these groups, their mandate is to just stop things, right? And even if the right thing and the convincing message is being said, and the evidence is there, and the science behind what we're doing is proving that we're not damaging the environment in the way that they're saying, their agenda is different. But that doesn't mean that we cannot try and work in a closed environment. We need to do the opposite. We need to get on the offensive and spread awareness about what we are doing, and do that through education, right? And again, going back to the University of Arizona, it's really an exciting initiative to be a part of. A school that's as renowned as the University of Arizona in the United States, in the copper producing heart of the country of North America. Really, it's something that I think can have a very far-reaching impact. And so we've got our work cut out for us on the day job, working with research institutions and universities and various academia institutes. That's a really powerful avenue to spread the proper message for the industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think part of it is showing up in unexpected places too. How can we be present as an industry in environments or organizations or events where people aren't expecting the mining industry to be? I thought Beatrice, a friend of mine who's head of diversity and inclusion at Newmont, made a point a few podcasts ago, like, why are miners always the bad guys in movies, right? Who was our rep in Hollywood? Because like we get the shaft every time. Like, someone's got to have like a mining or geologist hero. Like, I just saw, it's on like a Netflix binge, and like Liam Neeson just did a whole movie about ice road truckers. Like, if we can make a movie about ice road truckers, like, there's got to be a good mining story out there somewhere.
I actually saw that movie, and it does actually, it pins the mining company as the bad people, because there's but it's so much easier to make us villains, right? Like, who's gonna want to watch like a heroic mining engineer saving the world? It's so much easier to spin the plot and do what everybody's been doing for all of those years. But
I mean, oil and gas got it with Armageddon, right? It was oil and gas drillers who blew up the asteroid that was going to, blow up the world. Why wasn't it mining drillers? Like,
maybe one day, maybe 20 years from now, we'll be drinking some more aged rum and whiskey, and having a totally different topic to discuss. But it's not for the faint of heart. Like, I'm not going to be deterred by the naysayers about what it is we're doing, because I put my pride in the work that I do. I know my family's behind it. And meeting people like you, Emily, honestly, knowing that your head is in the right spot, your intentions are there. Like, people like you are what we need in this industry to continue promoting what the things that we do are the right things, are necessary, right? So it's an endless pursuit.
Yeah. And I always say our job in the industry is to make the table bigger, right? And people are invited to join the party anytime they want to come on in. Nobody goes into geology or mining because they hate the outdoors and the environment. We're all folks that love to be out in the middle of nowhere looking at rocks, right? So, that's really who we are as a core. And it's all about getting that invitation out more widely to encourage people to come join the party. With that, I have one last question for you. So if you could wave a magic wand and have one innovation or change in the industry magically appear that you think would make the industry better or cooler or more profitable, whatever it might be, what would that be?
Introducing more innovation into the industry, whether it be automation or big data manipulation. So with artificial intelligence or, within artificial intelligence, machine learning and getting much more data driven will totally improve the industry from a safety, efficiency, sustainability standpoint. And it will also make it a cooler industry, right? Like we're seen as kind of this old dirty industry, and we're absolutely not. Like me and my brothers, we love basketball, NFL, we like watching boxing, like we like sports, we like music. We're not just like crazy people that go to all corners of the world, and we're not like in touch with modern society. And I think we need to add more flair to the industry. And I think one way of doing that is by getting with this with this modernization of and innovation that's going in across the world. So once you kind of get that technological advancement and that innovation, more off the ground, it will add more flair to the industry. And I think it'll be good for creating awareness and getting even more people interested and involved, and getting more people to help us to build out and build more resource projects to fuel this change that the world's undertaking right now.
I couldn't agree more. Of course, you're preaching to the choir, working with, machine learning and big data and mining. But I agree, because I think, number one, it makes us cooler and more attractive and more in line with the larger trends in the industry, right? And people will say, hey, mining is something to invest in because it's not 10, 20 years behind, right? And they're not worried about scalability and all of that good stuff. But also, the sense of adventure that comes from it. I mean, I always joke with folks that with Analog, our mine right outside of Mazatlan in Mexico, it's like, we've got a fruity cocktail portfolio. You can fly to these places, go to a nice hotel, have a nice cocktail by the beach, drive in, see your gold mine, and be back at the hotel, right? This is not like it doesn't have to be remote and crazy conditions. A lot of them are, and that's cool in its own way, right? Like how cool is that we build mines all over the world in places where nothing exists from an infrastructure perspective. I mean, we are really cool. And that's kind of missing. So I would agree. I think any embrace of technology that pulls people in so they can see what's really going on, right, and better understand what's really going on is a huge innovation. I mean, we focus a lot on, transparency is only really valuable if it's also accessible. You can have a huge amount of data that's transparent. And I always tease the folks at CDAR, CDAR, where all the public disclosure reports go, like, yeah, you can get anything, but it's the best website that you could build in 1996. So if you can't access it easily and search it, it doesn't really kind of move the needle at all. So I think we're 100% on the same page with that.
Yeah. Well, I think next time we got to bring somebody in to challenge us, because we're aligned on too many topics here.
We need a devil's advocate here. No, the way we've been doing it for 50 years is the right way. We should stick with that. Yeah.
No, but I'm excited about the future of this industry, because it is changing just like everything else in the world. So we got to continue to try and be ahead of the game, and that's where you create value, by trying to be, first movers and adopt things early on. And yeah, I mean, if you're the very first mover, then you're going to have to take the hits because you're, a lot of trial and error. But at the same time, we do really try and be on the cutting edge of implementing new strategies, new technologies, new approaches, because I always say this is an industry where you got to adapt or die. Things change so much. And today is we've got a plan, and tomorrow it could change based on, we don't even know. We can't even predict it. And so control what you can control, and the outside stuff, when it comes at us, then we adapt and adjust and continue moving forward accordingly.
Awesome. Well, I will cheers to that. Thanks so much for coming on the rocks, and look forward to tasting some Guatemalan rum at Beaver Creek.
100%. I'll bring you a bottle for sure. Thank you so much, Emily, for the opportunity.
Thank you to our guest and my colleague, Jack Lundin, for joining us on this episode of On the Rocks. To learn more about Jack, Bluestone Resources, and the Lundin Group, visit bluestoneresources.ca and lundingroup.com and check them out on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. For more about Prospector, go to prospectorportal.com or check us out on Instagram at ProspectorAI and LinkedIn at ProspectorPortal. Thanks for joining us on the rocks. Until next time, keep your glasses full and your ice cold. Cheers.